What is going on, everyone? Welcome to W90. Quick hits for the week of April, last week of April, going into May. My name is Kyle Carr, and I'm going to go through the matches. We had basically cup action. The Brinks Tire USL Cup went all right. It started off for all the teams. It was the first week of it. As those that remember, the USL Cup has all the USL League One and Championship teams. They are divided out into different groups, and depending on how they place in the groups, the winners of the groups automatically advance. And then there would be one wild card that goes to the knockout stage. The knockout will be to the second place team with the most points in group play. Now, again, first week, all the teams were in it. So as of recording, however, the only USL League One team that has not played is FC Naples, who are facing Miami FC at the Pitbull Stadium. So by the time you're listening to this, Naples has not played. But to go through the USL League One results, New York Cosmos hosted Brooklyn FC. They lost 0-3. Richmond and Charlotte Independence had a League One matchup that was in Richmond. That saw Charlotte win 2-1. Another USL League One matchup, Chattanooga Red Wolves against Corpus Christi FC. Corpus Christi with the 1-0 win. Over in Indy, we had Indy 11 hosting Union Omaha, and Union Omaha gets the 2-1 victory. Then in Lexington hosted Ford Madison. Lexington won 4-2. And then over in Louisville at Lynn Family Stadium, Louisville City hosted and defeated Fort Wayne FC 3-1. In Pittsburgh, the Riverhounds hosted Greenville, and they were victorious 3-0. We had another USL League One matchup between Westchester and Portland. That was at Westchester, who walked away with a victory 5-4 in penalties. So it ended 2-2, but in the USL Cup, if it ends in a tie, they do a penalty shootout to see who gets that point. So Westchester was able to win 5-4. Sarasota Paradise went to Tampa and fell and lost 2-0. Knoxville, continuing their strong season, went over to Tulsa, ended in a 1-1 draw, but won the penalty shootout 3-2. Avialta went to New Mexico, lost 2-1. And then we also had Spokane Velocity traveling to Sacramento, where they lost 4-0. And Boise went to Las Vegas and was a 1-1 draw, but Boise was able to come away with the 4-2 penalty win. So those are a lot of matches. And as you saw, there's a lot of either League One matchups or League One teams traveling to the championship. I would say most of the results were probably expected. The good thing is for some clubs like Boise, Omaha, obviously, Knoxville, to walk away getting points against championship opponents is going to be huge. And then if you're a team like Corpus Christi, if you have a chance to face a League One team, you got to try and get those wins where you can. So that was a big victory for them as well. And then if you're also thinking like a Portland or even Westchester, you're kind of thinking we probably needed to get that extra point. Westchester will probably be happy to walk away with 2 points. Portland definitely feel like they would have rather won. But going to the standings of all of it, in Group 1, which is the primary West Coast teams, Boise sits second in their group, just behind Sacramento, while Spokane is sitting in last. Having a -4 goal differential is not going to help. In Group 2, which has AV Alta, they are technically second to last, but Orange County and Phoenix also lost by 1 goal, so they're all kind of in that grouping. In Group 3, it's actually USL League One teams that are on top. Corpus Christi is on top with 3 points. Knoxville is on top. Knoxville is second with 2 points. Chattanooga being the only team that did not get a point, sitting in last place. In Group 4, Lexington and Louisville are the top 2. However, Omaha sits in third. Ford Madison does sit in fourth, but because of the goals that they scored, that has them ahead of the likes of Indy 11 and Fort Wayne. Detroit City has not played a game yet. They will face Ford Madison in the next go-around in mid-May. Group 5, Westchester currently sits second in the group. Portland sits fourth, tied with Hartford Athletic, and Cosmos are currently at the bottom. Group 6, Charlotte is in second place. Richmond are in fourth, and Greenville is sitting in last place. And then Group 7, like I said, we don't know yet with Naples. They technically sit in third place, but we will see if they're going to move up or move down. Just depends on the situation. Sarasota currently sitting in last. So that was a lot. So what exactly happened? Which matchups were worth talking about? I think the first one that is going to stand out, obviously, is going to be Omaha beating Indy 11. And it was a typical Omaha in a cup performance level. They pretty much were the better team. They were, in terms of their passing, it looked more cohesive for them in the attack, even though Indy had more shots and more shots on target. I wouldn't say they were particularly threatening, but obviously when you have Nuhu, you feel more comfortable. Defensively, again, Omaha was having to do a lot more clearing, but overall, I would say Omaha had the majority of the possession, and they looked like the team that felt more comfortable as opposed to Indy. And then they were able to kind of get the 2 goals on each side of halftime. One was Pato, and was the first goal kind of easy? Sure, but that's what you get when you're creating the chances. And Omaha was pretty much in control until a late goal from Bruno Rendon at the 80th minute, and then it got a little bit dicey, but Omaha was able to hold on for the victory. Again, I think it was a typical Omaha performance. They looked very fluid in attack. They seemed defensively able to see what was coming and able to sniff it out. So I think that is an encouraging performance for them. And will it carry them in the rest of this competition is to be seen. But we're starting to get an idea of what Omaha is. After their surprise loss to Richmond, you kind of thought, okay, is this really the team that we thought they are? And the answer might be possibly. Then we get the other matchup that I think was worth looking at, and that was Las Vegas and Boise. And for the most of the match, it wasn't really anything interesting or anything to write home about. Boise was able to get an equalizing goal just minutes after Las Vegas had the opening goal. In terms of the shots, it was pretty even in terms of like the quality shots that each team got. Again, defensively, I think Boise still had that edge. And I think this is a big statement for Boise to go in, face a championship team on the road, and still walk away with that extra point. Even if it is through penalties, Boise made all their penalties, and Vegas had 2 of them that came up short. So I think for Boise, this is encouraging. Again, this seems like a team that it's going to take a while for them to fully click into high gear, but with the talent that they have, it is possible to see that. The other match I would say surprised about was Spokane and Sacramento. Now, Sacramento is a good team. There's no debating that. However, I would have expected Spokane to have a better showing, especially with the strength of lineup that they threw out there. You were just wanting more out of them. And it was one of those where it kind of felt like, all right, what is going on with Spokane? Because they still don't look like the contending team we are looking at. It still seems like a team that is searching for answers. It seems like a team that has not really been on the same page. It just feels disjointed at times. And I don't know how long you get before you start hitting the panic button. Again, losing to Sacramento is not anything to be ashamed of, but it was more the manner in which it happened that I think was pretty surprising. So I would say those are the main matchups between the USL League One teams that I was going to look at and discuss. Obviously, there are other games. For Madison and Lexington was just a weird, chaotic matchup. You had diving headers, ridiculous goals, own goals happening off players' faces. Just a weird game. Madison at times looked as though they could have walked away with something, but then defensively they had bad lapses, along with some good saves from JT Harms. I mean, you can't really say much about Fort Wayne and Louisville. I think it was expected with Louisville and Fort Wayne, so nothing to really write home about there. Even with Pittsburgh and Greenville, it kind of felt the same way. Westchester and Portland was another one of those where could you argue that Portland should have done better? Maybe, but Westchester did look like a team that wanted to come in and play. They wanted to, have the ball and do something with the ball. So I think that is something to give them props for. I think Portland also wasn't completely at full strength as well. So I think that was another thing to keep in mind in terms of there's definitely rotation with some of the players. But overall, again, Portland's kind of in the same situation as Spokane, where it's like, all right, at what point do we hit a panic button, or what point do we think how much more time we're going to give them before there needs to be a turnaround? Because at this point, you're getting a little bit worrisome that this team that everyone expected to be better has not shown it consistently. There's been flashes of it. So that's another one along with Spokane. In terms of AV Alta and New Mexico, it was not the typical AV Alta game where they had all this possession and had all these chances and just couldn't do anything with it. They just were shut down by a better New Mexico team. Not surprising. AV Alta is another team where, I mean, you're going to get what you get, so nothing to be concerned about. I think Knoxville had a very impressive showing, considering it would have been understandable if Knoxville maybe didn't go all out and go full strength and maybe have their eye on their round of 16 U.S. Open Cup match. And with that lineup, part of it was like, yeah, maybe they are doing that, but they were still very impressive. They had the first gold and they were in the game and could have walked away winning it. Remy Cabral eventually equalized, but then there was a second yellow card for Tulsa after. And then it was kind of like, well, maybe Knoxville will continue to attack, continue to get the chances, just couldn't get it, but they wanted penalties. Like I said, I think this is an impressive showing for them, considering they probably had the Open Cup matchup at the forefront. Maybe they would have not necessarily looked the other way, but it would have been understandable if they had not gone and competed as high as they could have. So that is pretty much all the main stuff with the USL Cup. Like I said, there's Open Cup happening this week. There's going to be league matches. In terms of matches to watch for this upcoming weekend, I'm trying to think, because there's some that are relatively interesting, but then there's also some where I'm like, maybe not. So May 1st on Friday, Richmond hosts Westchester. And then Saturday, Portland hosts Cosmos. Naples hosts Knoxville. Fort Wayne hosts Charlotte. Sarasota hosts Madison. Omaha hosts Greenville for the Battle of the Belt. Corpus Christi hosts Spokane. Boise hosts Chattanooga. So I would say the most interesting will be Naples and Knoxville. These are two teams that are they're pretty much at the top of the standings. Again, with Knoxville having their Open Cup match, are they going to go full strength? We don't know, but it should be interesting to see. Ironically, both teams have only lost one game, 2-4 Madison at home. So I don't know. I just feel like that's going to be the matchup of the week, and it's going to be one of those where you just sit there and hope that enjoy the matches. And in terms of my player of the week, I don't know if I really have one, but for the team of the week, I will go with Omaha to go into Indy 11 and win. Is there impressive? Knoxville getting honorable mention. So that's going to be it for this week's Quick Hits. I'm Kyle, and we will talk to you later.